Hello and welcome. I do that every time. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Girly Cello Chronicles. I refuse to say what episode we're on because then it means I can't cheat. It means I can cheat and then slip an episode here and there. And it doesn't matter because because then if it's episode 6, but actually it's episode 4, but it could be episode 20 and I could repeat it in 20 years' time and nobody's... Anyway, hello. How are you all doing? I hope you're all well. I'm ever so slightly manic today. It's been a day. It's been a bonkers day. This morning I was playing for the BBC. So actually that's probably going to be a bit of a giveaway as to when this episode was recorded, but that's fine. So this morning I was playing for the BBC for BBC CWR, which is Coventry and Warwickshire, for their big, beautiful event, We Still Do, which was basically 80 couples renewing their vows. I keep saying vowels, renewing their vowels, renewing their vows in Coventry Cathedral. Also, I'm just going to say I'm elsewhere today. I'm actually with my partner as I record this, so I'm probably going to say stuff and you might hear him laughing in the background, but we're both. It's really funny. Anyway, renewing their vowels in Coventry Cathedral. With the BBC recording live and the 80 couples and their family and friends and BBC West Midlands and BBC CWR and lots of other local stations, and it was absolutely incredible. And I was I was found on TikTok of all places. TikTok. Social media. Which is really hilarious because I'm constantly saying to musicians, you need a website. You do need a website. To be fair, they found me on TikTok and then went to my website. But yeah, they found me on TikTok. I'm recording this on a Friday and they found me on a Tuesday or a Wednesday of the same week and said, Jay, can you please come and play some music for us on your cello? We love your cello. We've seen you playing. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing. That'd be so fabulous. So I rocked up and it was just, oh boy, it was overwhelming. So here's the thing, right? Generally speaking, I'm not a concerto soloist, and even though I do solo cello for perhaps 80 or 90% of the work that I do, it feels like it's in a very different context to what this was. So for me, solo cello normally, I am playing for weddings or private events and I might have backing tracks, or if it's a wedding, then I'm not the central focus. People are kind of listening, but everybody's looking at the bride and or the groom. The couple is the focus, or everyone else is the focus. And it's like, that's cool, that's great. I'm just here doing my thing, and it's really sweet and lovely and an honour to be able to provide some background music. Today, was, as I said, 80 couples, so 160 people plus, and then sound engineers and technicians and video recording and all kinds of, I've just found out it's on BBC Midlands today, and then I'm there are sound bites of me, which I'll put links in the show notes. You can listen in the show notes. It's so cool. It's just it's amazing to hear all these couples renewing their vows. But what I want to talk about is, as I was playing today, solo cello. So I played Bach Cello Suite No. 1 in G major, just a prelude. And what was really interesting was I loved it. I loved playing it. It was so sweet. It was so brilliant. But for the first time in the longest time ever, I was really, really, really nervous. It took me so much effort to put my mind and body in the right place to perform. Now, there are a few things that weren't in my favour. First of all, it was really cold in the church. Coventry Cathedral is beautiful, but it was very, very cold. Now, I had on my long skirt and a thick pair of tights and a vest and a jumper, but I had rushed from the car park to the church and had cooled down very, very quickly. So my body was really starting to shut down. Plus, I think I'd had a migraine. I was recovering from a migraine from yesterday. And that just was that was going nowhere. Another thing that wasn't in my favour was I realised that it's been such a long time since I've actually played Bach cello suite that the last time I played it, I actually played it from my beloved book of cello suites, Bear and Writer edition. And it's like this book of cello suites, I've had it since I was about 14, I think, and it has literally been my go-to for playing this piece of music. But today was the first time that I played it from my iPad, and the version that I had on my iPad looked different to what I was used to. It's the same notes, of course, it's all exactly the same notes, and I don't even need it. I know it. I know I can play it from memory, but I was really thrown, and I was like looking at it thinking, it doesn't look right. None of this looks, it doesn't look right. It's the same music, it's the same notes, it's the same bowing, everything's in place, but it didn't look right because it was on my iPad. And then I think what the last thing that was really interesting to note was the acknowledgement that when it's such a big event and I'm deep in concentration, I'm really having to pay attention, but in a very different way, because I noticed that in previous performances, when I would play like big concert performances, if I'm doing a solo, I have to be really conscious that my mind doesn't just suddenly click out. And I recognise now, since diagnosis, that this is an ADHD thing where suddenly my brain will just go, so what exactly happened on that episode of Traitors? Because I really just, this is like I'm on bar 40 of the Bach cello suites, and it's like I'm in flow and it sounds amazing and I'm really enjoying the sound, and then I'm gone, like my brain is just gone. And I recognise that is a real thing. It's a real, I'm not sure I want to say issue, but it's certainly something that I really have to consider. And I recognise that was something else that made me really, really nervous. And I've been sitting with it since playing this morning. I've been sitting with it and thinking, damn, the number of times I'd beat myself up trying to figure out why I couldn't just suddenly play something. Like, what was it that was tripping me up? What was it that was making it suddenly really difficult? And it's that realisation that I absolutely need very specific things in place. Like, you know how like pop stars go to a hotel or whatever and they have like a rider because they like, I want my 17 and a half bottles of semi-sparkling water at exactly 12 degrees, otherwise it's not good enough. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But to me, that was something that really, really resonated, because the music wasn't right and my seat wasn't quite high enough and my iPad wasn't quite in the right place and the sheet music was wrong and I was too cold and there were just so many things to think about. My brain just wasn't tuned in the way that I needed it to be tuned in, even though it was tuned in to start with. So I was listening back to the recording. I weirdly, I haven't listened to all of it because I know where the mistakes are. I know where the errors are. And it's really hard to not tear the performance apart because I know exactly what was going on when those errors happened. And I think there were two fluff moments and then a moment where I was like, oh crap, I don't really know what I'm doing at this point. Which is, I know what I'm doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. And the first one was when my brain literally went out and was like, yeah, so seriously, what did happen on the Traitors? What was going on? And then another moment was when I was trying to turn the page and I was using my pedal, my foot pedal thing, like the page turner pedal. I remember pressing it and the page didn't turn. Now, what's really interesting is I remember thinking, it's okay because I know the music and I'm still playing. But there was a feeling of zoning out and really losing a sort of connection with what was going on. Now, I don't even know if anybody would be able to notice. I have no idea. I think people have probably noticed the first mistake where I checked out and lost sight of what was going on. My fingers were cold. So I was distracted by that. And then, I don't know why Traitors, but Traitors. And then the page turn was a bit like, ugh. And then I remember getting to the end with the last bit where it's just like split chords and then it finishes on a chord. And I remember getting there and there was an awful moment when I thought to myself, ugh, I always get this bit wrong because I can't quite land it in tune. Lo and behold, what do you think happened? Of course, I ended up changing the bowing at the very last minute and trying not to do something different, but just trying to do something that would make it work under the circumstances. My hands being cold and not being able to free flow enough to cover enough bow for a bow change and sustain the chord at the end of the bow. There's like lots and lots and lots of things to think about. But I think the reason why I wanted to tell you about this today is because it's that whole thing of pushing through the nerves, pushing through the anxiety, understanding what happened and maybe why it happened, but then more than anything, recognising the bigger picture of what's actually going on. For me, the bigger picture is not to play to perfection. It is not to play every single note utterly crisp, clean, perfect. It is to convey my sense of musicality, my ability, my skill, my energy, my personality, all of those things about me through my music in a way that I enjoy, with the hope that other people enjoy it as well. Now, I could sit here and to be fair, I have done in the past, I could sit here and go, yeah, it was okay, but that those 2 bars that I messed up, I mean, that ruined the whole thing. Or yeah, I should have done this, I should have done that, I shouldn't have changed bow in that part, and the whole performance could have been a bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But the things I have to take into consideration are things that are not in my favour. There were many, many things that weren't in my favour. And it actually feels really, really good to acknowledge that. And when it comes to performing, I invite you to do the same thing. You can sit there and tear your own performance apart. You can sit there and say, well, you should have done this, you could have done that, you should have prepared better, you should have learnt it from heart, you should have warmed up, you should have changed your seat, you should have had your... There are so many things you could have done. There are so many things you maybe should have done. But how are you going to cover absolutely everything? And then when you still make a mistake, what's the reason? What's the excuse? What are you going to search for? What are you going to find? Or are you going to turn around and say, well, you know what? I'm human. I enjoyed my performance. I loved the opportunity. It was beautiful to share my skill, my talent, my love of music with other people who appreciated it. And when people tell me that they really enjoyed the performance, that they were moved to tears, that they were stood at the back of the church crying, as I found out many people were crying for the love of music rather than crying for the mistakes, one would hope. But I would hope that you can look back on it and say, do you know what? I did a good job and somebody enjoyed it. One person enjoyed it. If you can have one person enjoy it, you did a good job. That's my view. That's where I come from. And that is my takeaway from today. ADHD really can screw up a performance for me. That's what it feels like, where I'll just click out and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. My hands are moving independent of my brain. I've completely disconnected. I have checked out. I don't know what's going on, but I can check back in as fast as possible and then keep going and just continue to enjoy. This is actually, I think I'm going to continue this. I'm going to continue talking about this in Confident Cello Lounge because I think this is something really, really important to discuss. I think it's really important to consider this when you're performing because nerves can rip you apart, but there are ways around it. And yeah, I want to carry on this discussion. If you don't know what the Confident Cello Lounge is, I'll drop the link in the show notes. It is a space for cellists to perform with confidence and joy and excitement and actually appreciate sharing their skills. It is not how to play the cello, it is how to perform and love what you do. So yeah, come and join me in the Confident Cello Lounge if you want to know or chat more about it. Okay, I'm going to scoot because it has been a long day and you can probably hear that my voice is like, ugh. But in the show notes, I will leave links to the various interviews. If you're listening to this months down the line and those links are no longer available, then pop me a message, send me a message or leave a comment. And I'll see if I can find a recording for you so you can still have a listen. But yeah, you know what? For as weird and surreal as today was, I have had a brilliant day. And I do hope that other musicians get to enjoy the same thing that I get to enjoy as well. And I hope that I can help other musicians get to enjoy that. It's just been amazing. So thank you for listening. I will catch you in all the different places. As I said, check the show notes. Thank you so much. I hope you continue to play boldly and to shine bright. And I will speak to you soon. Laters. Bye.